Okay, welcome everybody back to Steve Talks Boxing X, STBX, where we talk real boxing with the real boxing fans. And welcome to the Roundup with Darren July show. On this show, we're going to be looking at the highlights of the past month, also talking about this weekend's recent events. And of course, joining me again is Darren Aston. Welcome, Darren. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, Steve. Great to be back on again.
Yeah, we've got lots to talk about as well. We're going to first start on this weekend's event. First of all, I want to congratulate Callum Simpson on his British and Commonwealth victory over the weekend. But did you see the McKenna versus Laws fight?
I certainly did. It was just 3 rounds of carnage, wasn't it? It was fantastic stuff. I actually thought McKenna sort of like played into Joe Laws' hands a little bit. I think McKenna should have stuck to his boxing. I know that's hard when you've got a guy coming at you like Joe Laws, but I think he should have stuck to his boxing. But he decided, they both said to us before the fight they were going to have a tear up, and that's exactly what they did for 3 rounds. It was epic stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I thought McKenna would have outboxed him, but he got into a brawl instead, toe to toe. That first round is like, what's going on? So
I was honestly on the edge of my seat, mate. I just couldn't believe. I mean, when Joe Laws went down that first time, he took a couple of shots again. He was, going backwards on the ropes. But to find that shot and then drop McKenna, I just couldn't believe what I was watching. And then I thought at one point, is he going to stop McKenna?
Yeah.
But they both deserve huge credit for that. I mean, Joe Laws as well, particularly. I feel like if that towel didn't come in, he'd have just carried on and on and on. And I think he's done a great job saving for another day, because I think he's going to be able to get more fights after that on televised shows like Sky Sports. I think, he'll drop down a level.
Yeah.
And he knows that himself.
Yeah, I was going to say the social media reaction from him has been brilliant as well. He's been posting stuff and it's been well received. He said he came there for a fight and that's what he promised. That's what he brings. So I don't think, Box or Sky Sports, they're welcoming him back. Any card. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a character as well, like you say. He's a ticket seller, really. He's got his loyal fans, and after that, like even the neutrals, that didn't really know that much of him or whatever, I think he's gained a lot of fans after that. I mean, I saw on social media, I don't know if it's Instagram or X, where he said he's had so many DMs congratulating him on what an epic fight that was.
Sure.
And he'll drop down a level and he'll come back again, and he'll get like a lot of fans on his side. Fair play to them both. They gave us 3 rounds of absolute epic.
Good fight.
Well, I was going to say boxing. I don't know if it was boxing. It was just an almighty tear-up, wasn't it?
Sure. And some people criticised him on that ring entrance as well. They started walking to the ring, then all of a sudden he turned into a sprint to the ring and left the security behind. I think people are saying, was he burning up nervous energy there? I'm not sure really. So,
well, he was definitely pumped from the start, wasn't he? You could see that. He was definitely up for it. It was brilliant stuff.
Yeah, fair play. Hats off to both fighters for that entertaining fight. We also had the LA card this weekend. This one, Crawford versus Madrimov. Right result in the end?
Yeah, I think so. I know there was a little bit of controversy around it where people, some people thought Madrimov won. Even, Eddie Earn was singing his fighters' praises, which, fair enough. That's what you've got to do. You're a salesman, you back your fighter up. But I think Crawford was the right winner. I don't think it was a brilliant fight. It was okay. I think Madrimov probably made Crawford look worse than how good he is, type of thing. Yeah. He's a brilliant fighter, Crawford, but Madrimov made him look a lot worse than that.
Yeah.
Madrimov had a lot of movement, a lot of herky-jerky med movement, but I don't think he probably done enough with his shots as what he could have. I mean, it's a tough task against Crawford, but I think there was a lot of movement from Madrimov, but not always a lot of end products. But he did take some rounds, and he did make it interesting, and he made it a competitive fight. But for me, Crawford won by 2-3 rounds, maybe 4, something like that.
Yes, pretty much the decision. What was on the cards then, really? So I couldn't argue that. I saw it a couple of rounds to Crawford at the end of the day. obviously there's talk of Crawford, going to step up and fight Canelo. Can he beat Canelo? Is this realistic?
Personally, I don't think it is realistic. It's a sort of like a sales pitch again, isn't it, for what could be? Maybe to see what the hype is for. I mean, the two names sell, but I don't think it's a realistic fight, in all honesty, with the weight. Who knows in boxing though? We've seen some crazy things in boxing. You just never know. But I really rate Crawford. Do like him.
Yeah, I still rate Crawford. You can't base just that. Madrimov was a tough opponent. You can't just base it off of that fight. Do you think, obviously, Canelo coming to the end of his career, Crawford coming to the end of his career, they just make this sort of fight just for the money? Do you think it'd be like the one last hell of a payday?
I really don't know. I personally don't think it is realistic. Some people think it is. I think they need to stick where they are, sort of like with their weight divisions, and go with that. Canelo's a brilliant fighter. Crawford's a brilliant fighter, and like I say, you never know in boxing. I mean, there's talk of it, and I think it's unrealistic. Come December, it might be happening. Who knows?
Yeah. You never know.
When also, Saudi money's involved as well, Steve.
That's the thing. That's what my thinking behind it. One last super fight for both to end it on. I know it's probably not nice to go on a defeat, maybe for both of them, sort of, Hall of Famers boxers, but if you're giving them, I don't know, 20, 30 million each or something ridiculous like that, 40 million each or something like that, then
money talks.
Yeah, money talks. It won't be so bad. It won't be so bad at all. Also on the card, we have Bakole making that big statement against Anderson. Can we start taking him seriously as a heavyweight contender now?
I think we've got to. I hold my hands up to this one. I told a lot of people I think that this is Jared Anderson's coming of age fight. How drastically wrong was I? He was, I say he was poor. But was that Martin Bakole making him look poor? He was totally outclassed. Martin Bakole was superb. I actually DM'd Billy Nelson, congratulating him, and he actually cut back to me.
Oh wow, awesome!
Because he follows me on X, and I follow him. And Martin Bakole also follows me on X. Don't know why, but he does.
Because he knows you, Darren. He knows your insight.
Well, but that were. Martin Bakole was superb. It was faultless. Brilliant tactics to go for someone like Jared Anderson, who's never really been at the deep end in his career so far. And he just went for the jugular and totally outclassed him. Jared Anderson couldn't handle the power, couldn't handle a guy so big as Martin Bakole standing in front of him. And Jared Anderson's 24. He can come again, but he's got a hell of a lot to learn. Sugar Hill's got a big task with getting Jared Anderson up to the level.
Sure. Do you think Anderson learnt the hard way? That was his sort of education to boxing heavyweight, really real fights.
Well, time will tell. We'll see. We'll see how he comes back. I mean, obviously he'll drop down a decent level after that, and they'll rebuild him again. Yeah. But he's got a hell of a lot to learn. He's had a lot of things his own way, apart from really the Charles Martin fight, where Charles Martin tagged him a few times, and I was one of them where I looked at things like the Charles Martin fight and thought, he didn't have the big opponent in front of him. He'll learn from that and he'll really perform against Martin Bakole, but he was totally outclassed.
No. Well, a lot of the Americans were pretty unaware of Bakole. Obviously, UK fans probably know a bit more about him. And then the sort of general reaction after from the American fans, Anderson, he wasn't that great in the first place. It's almost like they spun it around, like, not giving any credit to Bakole, maybe, I don't know. So I thought it was a bit harsh.
Yeah, that sounds like American fight fans with their heavyweights, to be honest. But the one thing I was going to say, with Martin Bakole, I've seen a lot of people saying he's the next big thing in the heavyweight division. He could well be. But I think you've also got to keep level-headed for how good a performance it was. When you've got someone in front of him who moves a lot, like an Usyk, Bakole isn't just going to be able to land his shots like he did on Jared Anderson. I mean, some people said, imagine if he landed on Usyk. Well, imagine if he did, but will he? Usyk's a mover. Yeah, that's the question. You've got to keep level-headed sometimes and judge from who fighters have fought. You know.
Yeah, a couple of names floating around as potential opponents, future opponents. Zhang was a popular one. I put a tweet out. Zhang kept on going up for that. That could be a fight, couldn't it? Really.
I actually put that tweet out myself as well. I don't know if you beat. I don't know if you beat me to it or I beat you to it, but
yeah,
we'll go back and we'll have a look at that one.
Yeah,
but,
we'll see who posted that first. Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that fight. I think it's a two big guys, big punchers. Probably a case of who lands first. Well, I say who lands first. Martin Bakole looks like he's got a pretty solid chin to me.
Yeah. And how about this? Obviously, Bakole's a boxer. He's in the boxer stable. What about chucking Dillian White in with him as a gap filler for a bit of Sky, maybe box office if we get something decent, you know? So,
of course, I'd love to watch that, but I'll be honest. I think Martin Bakole destroys him within 6 rounds.
Really?
That's my first. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't think Dillian White will take. I don't think Dillian White will take the shots at all. When you look how many times Dillian White's been down in his career, he doesn't handle a puncher well. And as soon as Martin Bakole lands, I think it's over.
Yeah, it'd be over. Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think, again, going back to the UK boxing scene, I think a lot of people will show a lot more interest and follow his career. And it's up to Boxer and Ben Shalom now to keep that motivation going. They've used a great stepping stone on the LA card, you know, and brought him to light, brought him to the heavyweight division. You know, come on, Ben, come on, Boxer, keep that momentum going, line up a good fight next 2 to 3 months. You know, well, certainly before the end of the year anyway. So I'd like to see him back out again.
Well, what I think going forward, I think basically you're going to see Martin Bakole on Saudi shows now. I don't think you're going to really see him on sort of
really domestic cards,
Sky Sports, Sky Box Office shows. No, I think he'll be out in Saudi again next. I think that's sort of like with where he's put himself now on the platform, he's put himself on after beating Jared Anderson. I think Turki Al-Sheikh will want to get him straight back out on the next show.
Yeah, sure. Talking about another fight. Ruiz Jr., was he lucky to get away with that draw against Miller?
This fight, I found this fight so hard to score. It was sluggish. It weren't boring, but it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was Andy Ruiz started okay. Miller grew into the fight a little bit. Ruiz was putting his head down, walking back to the corner, didn't look interested. And then we found out after the fight, he's broke his hand. Maybe that's hindered him. Ringing activities hindered him, but he still didn't look that interested to me. No. I don't know what Andy Ruiz has got left.
That was my next question. Do you think that is it for Ruiz? Because he was out the ring for so long. Like I said he's got it looks like a bad hand now. So you know, has he got that hunger anymore? You know, like I said, he was lucky to get away with the draw, wasn't he? Really. So
I don't know. I don't know. If Miller won the fight, it was very, very close. I don't know. I didn't really see sort of like Ruiz losing as badly as some people did. So I don't know how I feel about the draw. I just found the fight so hard to score. I watched it back reluctantly. I watched it back just to see how I thought.
Sucker for punishment,
I agree. But I looked back at it again and I thought, I still don't see how you can score these rounds to Miller like conclusively or Ruiz. It's just so hard to score. But I'm willing to give I mean Miller will go on now. Probably Miller will come better out of that than Andy Ruiz because Ruiz, I believe, was the favourite in the fight. I thought he'd win. Only on points, but I thought he'd win.
Yeah.
I believe Miller will go on to like another decent fight now. Maybe Jared Anderson next, who's the real big baby, like Miller was saying after the fight. Not that I'd want that title, but that's up to them.
The better with the babies.
Who's the real big baby? But I'm willing to give Andy Ruiz probably one more roll of the dice to see. Give him one more chance to see what he's got there.
Yeah, give him one last benefit of the doubt. Yeah, so
give him one last benefit of the doubt and let's see. But I wasn't impressed at all. I wasn't.
No. I thought exactly the same, to be honest with you, Darren. To be out the ring that long, I expected a bit of ring rust. Obviously, he broke his hand. We've got to take that in consideration. But Yeah.
But I'm not 100% convinced they were the reasons for his bad performance. Because walking back to his corner, his head was down. He didn't look interested. Maybe you can, with what was happening with his hand and that, you can. Obviously, that has hindered him. But I'm still not convinced he'd have won the fight clearly. And then after the fight, he turned around and said, "Oh, let's roll it back, baby." The way he goes, he's looking at the dollar signs. He wants another payday.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Going back to a monthly review now, who was your fighter of the month in July?
I think you've got to go Derek Chisora.
Yep, this man here.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, I actually gave him a chance in this fight. A lot of people didn't. They were going back to the old Joe Joyce was going to turn up, and I actually backed Derek Chisora to stop him because I thought Joyce would get. I thought Joyce's chin might be suspect there after Zhang. But I tell you what, like he performed
it's a
brilliantly,
surprise.
and
Yeah,
he was just superb. His engine was good. He looked not down and out, but he looked out of it at times. Chisora did, like he was spent, and then he'd just come back with the big bombs. He just keeps going down, the old Derek. He's a British boxing legend in my eyes. He's top draw, Derek Chisora. He is.
Yeah, I think even on the show, the preview show, I was tipping Joyce for a late stoppage, but good old Del Boy, always upsets my predictions for me. So yeah,
probably a lot of people's, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. It was a surprise. And also, I want to talk a bit more in depth about this. Your fight of the month, then. So, what was your fight of the month?
I think we've got to go Chisora and Joyce. When I look back, I mean, this is a close one, really. Yeah. I looked at the Nathan Heaney Brad Pauls too, and then I looked at this one, and I thought, no, we've got to go with that one. I mean, Joyce was knocked down. How the hell Joe Joyce took them shots again is beyond me. He was tagged left, right, and centre, wasn't he? It's just, it was a brilliant fight. It was a slugfest. It wasn't pretty at times. You thought Chisora was on the way out. Then he comes back and drops Joyce. Chisora's taking the bombs as well. Joyce is absolutely eating them for fun. It was just a brilliant, entertaining slugfest of two massive guys in the ring.
Yeah,
brilliant fight.
Technically, it weren't the greatest, was it? And
not at all.
By round 3 or 4, both of them were quite looked out on their feet, basically.
They did, yeah.
One thing I did pick up after the fight, and a few other people picked up, was Joe Joyce's reaction when he lost. He didn't seem that bothered to me. I don't know if you felt the same way after. He just, he said, I'm carrying on fighting. Yeah, and if that was me, I was thinking, again, going back to that Andy Ruiz, is he showing the hunger? Does he want to carry on fighting? Well, on the other hand, Derek Chisora showed a lot of heart. He wanted to carry on fighting. He's got them 2 more fights he wants to do. So, did you feel the same way?
Yeah, I did actually pick up on that. I was watching this fight out, and I actually said to a couple of people I was with, I don't really think Joe Joyce is that bothered about losing. Whereas for me, losing, don't sound disrespectful, but losing to Derek Chisora, who's lost 13 fights, you would think, that's sort of like thinking, oh God, is my career over here? Because of the Zhang defeats as well. But he's already put on social media, he's coming back, Joe Joyce, and about how he'll prove everyone wrong. I mean, maybe he'll change trainer or do something. I think he's got to change something. Like, he's not going to, Joe Joyce for me, he's not going to be able to change his style. He's got a plan A, he hasn't got a plan B. That's my opinion. But I don't see what he's going to change in the ring. I just feel like maybe he's got to change a coach, maybe he's got to change his training techniques, maybe he's got to lose a bit of weight, who knows? But I just don't see who's going to be able to install that plan B into him.
Yeah, and obviously it is the tail end of his career, isn't it, really? So
he's getting on, isn't he?
Yeah, to realistically, to get in that world-class mix again, he needed to beat Chisora, didn't he? So losing against Chisora maybe sets you back, another 2-3 fights, maybe realistically. And then, that's another 1.5 years, perhaps,
But you know what, Steve, as well, I think if you look at the styles, if Joe Joyce would have beat Derek Chisora, Joyce and Bakole would have been a good fight.
Yeah.
For this, they both come forward.
Yeah.
They're both willing to have a tear up. Well, Joyce probably not as much now as he was before. Now he's sort of like found his
Yeah.
level, but it's on paper with how the styles are. You'd think it'd be a good fight.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally
But
agree.
he ain't going to get any fights like that now. He's got a
No.
hard at
Again,
his age. He's got to drop the level a bit. I don't know.
He'd be back fighting, the cash alleys and stuff like that. So it's not great. It's not great, but
not at his age either.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's not great. We'll keep an eye on it, and obviously he needs a couple more builders, and like I said, perhaps lose a bit on the weight side of things. Change a trainer, change it a bit different. Obviously Ben Davidson's changed AJ late in his career, so it can happen. Yeah, it can happen. So, but realistically, I think personally it's a bit too late for him now to get in that mix again. Who is your promoter of the month and why?
I think really for the two very good domestic shows, you've got to go Frank Warren.
Yeah.
This in July. I mean, we had the Heaney Brad Pauls rematch, which was a very, very good card. Again, the Magnificent Seven.
Yeah.
And then there was some very good fights on that. I mean, Heaney, like I said, Heaney Pauls 2 was very close to getting fight of the month for me.
Yeah,
he was
close.
A great back and forth battle again. Yeah. Brad Paul's a deserved winner. And then we had, of course, Chisora and Joyce. I mean, we had the Dennis McCann Baluta on that card as well.
Yeah,
we had the Archie Sharp Ryan. Yeah, we had the Archie Sharp Ryan Garner fight as well. He's put on 2 very, very good domestic shows in July. So hats off to Frank Warren. He's leading the way at the minute for domestic shows.
I was going to say, Frank, it seems to be, obviously, like I said, leading the way at the moment. He's in his twilight years. He's doing brilliant, if you ask me. He obviously
looks great for his age as well.
Yeah,
looks very good.
Very good for his age. So, but a few years ago, obviously Queensbury may be struggling, but I think Frank's doing a good job at the moment. He's putting on good shows, good domestics.
Definitely.
As well. Obviously, global shows, teaming up, Matchroom as well. So, he's doing a good job. So, well done, Frank. Keep it going. Also, boxing controversy of the month. What would that be, Darren, for you?
Well, I've got to say, I know this is a touchy subject for a lot of people, but I think it's got to be the Olympic boxing.
Yeah,
there's been a few things with it, mate. There's been this scoring, which has been dodgy. You've had pro boxers that have been pro for a good while, obviously fighting the amateur boxers. And then we've also got the transgender issue where, you've had people failing gender tests, and then so basically you've had guys fighting women. And you've got women that have been fighting, well, for a long, long time, training for these Olympics, having their dreams shattered because realistically they're fighting a guy. And, I know it's a touchy subject and I don't want to harp on too much about it, but for me, it's pretty simple. You have women fighting women in the correct weight division. You have men fighting men in the correct weight division. You don't have men fighting women. You don't have, and someone said to me as well, maybe you could have transgender people in their own division. I can't see transgender boxing selling, to be honest. That's just me being honest. Some people might disagree with that. I'm open to a debate with people, but I can't see lots of people sitting down there going, I'm going to watch the transgender division now. It's just, for me, that's not going to happen.
Well, the thing is, the boxing is on a world level. You're talking Olympics, so it's getting the media attention of the world. So I've been thinking about this a lot. I think there should be stricter testing on testosterone. And then if the levels are not right, maybe perhaps introduce estrogen to, they've got to fit into a certain bracket perhaps before they're allowed to fight. If not, they can't fight. So that's the way, but there certainly something needs to be done, isn't it, really, in regards of testing, make sure everyone gets a fair fight. That's what ultimately, I think even the Olympic Committee would want the same, because it's not great news for them. It's bad publicity, isn't it, really?
Well, it's not fair on these. Sorry, Steve, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, and don't get me started on the scoring, because that's been a joke. and you can see why they're not going to. Well, supposedly not going to bother with it in LA in 4 years' time. They're going to scrap boxing, which is a shame, because obviously, for the British stars, we've had, likes of, Amir Khan, Anthony Joshua, Audley Harrison will come through to the professionals, and it's going to jump that, isn't it? Really, so you get a chance to, jump on that platform, get medals, turn professional. Really. So it is a shame on that. So what was you going to say, Darren?
Well, I was going to say, what's not fair with me with the transgender issue is you've got women that have trained there for ages to get to this Olympics, and then one of them gets in the ring, takes a shot, quits because that's done for me, because they felt the power straight away. It's just But then the Olympic committees are going to try and go every way around it to cover themselves up for what they've done and what they've allowed. It's just for me, there's been some superb performances in this Olympics in all areas of sports, but they've let themselves down in a lot of areas with the way they've done certain things in this Olympics, especially the boxing. There's big eyes on the boxing. Obviously, you've got thousands of boxing fans probably watching, millions probably watching, the boxing fans watching it all around the world. And they've let themselves down. Like I say, with dodgy scoring. Then you've got the issue of transgenders, and then you've got professionals that have been professionals ages, and then they're going in against an amateur. The whole thing has just turned out a disaster. And like you say, in 4 years' time, it's not going to be even existing in the Olympics. It's just a tragedy, really, with Olympic boxing.
It's a shame. It really is a shame.
Yeah.
I was going to go on to, obviously, we're running a week behind for the July's Roundup show, but what fights you're going to look forward to in August? But I did look at the schedule. It's going to be a tough one, Darren, to be honest with you. Because the only thing I can see, which is coming up in August, is that fight scrolling down the bottom of the screen, which is I think it's 17th of July, which is Denzel Bentley fighting at York Hall, I think. So, and Frank one's got a few.
It's the one on for there's a Sky show on this week. Bernardo Lopez versus
I'm not sure how many be that in tune for that one, to be honest with that.
Well, that's a decent fight on the 18th of August. Christian Mbili versus Sergey Devrenchenko. So that's a good fight. But and then you've got that Madrimov returns, who was on the Saudi cards, who Ajit Kabayel stopped. So it's pretty bleak in all honesty, isn't it? The August schedule.
We did have obviously Catterall versus Prograis lined up for end of August, and obviously Catterall got an injury, but I've heard today that's been rearranged for October, so that's already rearranged for then. So
glad to have that back rearranged. Let's see what the card's like, see if they do it differently this time.
Well, there was a lot of rumours going round saying that the fight was binned because of ticket sales and poor interest, and there's a lot of you don't know what to believe, really. So
this is the joys of social media.
Yeah, well, it's the first fight at the new arena as well, the Co-op Live Arena for boxing there. So there's a lot floating around saying, that's why maybe come back with a stronger undercard there. But to be honest with you, I think it had Harper versus Dixon on there. Well, it did have Harper Dixon on there, and that's a great fight if you ask me. That could almost sort of headline. You get a few good fights.
Well,
with
that's
that.
going to Sheffield, isn't it?
Fight. Exactly. Yeah. So
good fight. Yeah, really good fight.
I think that's a great fight. So, but that's about it then. Thanks again, Darren, for this month's show. Thanks
no problem,
to everyone for tuning in. Please support the channel best you can with likes and subscriptions and comments. And thanks again for your time, Darren.